how has the current Prime Minister affected our economy, especially in light of his extreme views on climate change?
Well, what has happened, of course, is when Morrison gave up the argument that said to try and go to net zero by 2050, it left the opposition, or it left the then government, in a very precarious state to fight against the crazy policies which Albanese and Bowen are bringing in. And the net result of that is that we refuse to learn from the rest of the world. Every day in this country, 70 to 80% of all our electricity comes from coal-fired power stations, which they're determined to close or blow up. They want to destroy fertile land where we grow food. They want to blight the environment. They don't care if they kill birds or clear forests in the pursuit of putting up windmills and panels. The net result is we're spending a huge amount of money, which they don't bother to count because they say it's all off budget. And the net result is that we're looking at something like, well, anything up to $1 trillion for the rebuilding of the grid after this really fantasy pursuit of being totally dependent on wind and solar, which of course we can't be. So the damage that's being done is enormous. And the sooner we can get a change of government, the better.
Look, I don't understand how people can see this, see the pain it's causing our economy, see the pain it's causing our farmers. And we travel in some of the rural areas. A few months ago, I was up in Alice Springs, but I'll get to that later. They obviously are not talking to the people on the ground. I mean, are they, or are they just bantering among themselves?
They don't care. They don't care. And the end product of all these people who want to be dependent on so-called renewables, but I don't know what's renewable about tons of cement in the ground and great hulks that have to be disposed of, probably in landfill. That's not renewable to me. But if they keep this pursuit up and not learn from what's happening overseas, which for all the money that's been spent on wind and solar, constantly it remains that fossil fuels are the source of energy. Now, the people who want to see less of that and attack farmers, they want fewer herds, they want fewer people on the planet at the end of the day, and they really don't mind how they die. So they really are a very unattractive group of people at the end who are really pushing the ideology that is behind these policies. And one day, unless we have a wake-up call, Australia will simply punish itself and achieve nothing for having done so.
It seems like the Labor Party, I mean, I grew up in Bankstown. I went to De La Salle College, where Paul Keating went to school with my brother, but I'll leave that alone. And I will leave that alone. What I've seen, it's almost like the Labor Party has become the party of the elite and the ultra wealthy, not the party of the people. What's happened, Bronwyn? What has happened?
Well, I'm afraid they always were and always will be the party of the elite. That's what happens with socialism. It's the people at the top who have all the power and the wealth and the influence, and the people at the bottom are simply sacrificed. And that's the big difference between individualism and collectivism. With collectivism, which is socialism, in whichever form, whether it's communism or National Socialism of Germany or Mao Zedong's version of communism, now perpetuated by President Xi, it doesn't matter that for all the policies in the world, the individual will ever count for anything. They are simply the masses. The elites have all the power. And that's why we've got cozying up here in this country between the government and the wealthy and the powerful elites, because that was, of course, a path travelled by the National Socialist Party of Germany to get those two together. And of course, the people suffer. So we've got to stop that being the case. We've got too many of the big businesses which are very cosy to government because they get things from government, whether it's banks who get guarantees for depositors, which deposit taking institutions do not receive. So there's always some reason that they cozy up.